Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we are diving into the world of batteries, those amazing little power packs that keep your vehicles humming. But have you ever wondered that what actually happens inside a battery when it's charging or discharging? Buckle up because we are about to unveil the secret science behind its everyday phenomena. Batteries don't store electricity directly. Instead, they store chemical energy in a way that allows them to be converted into electrical energy when needed. Inside a battery, we have two key players: the anode, negative electrode, and the cathode, positive electrode. These electrodes are made from materials that can readily participate in chemical reactions, meaning they can gain or lose electrons. The material separating them is an electrolyte, a special solution that allows ions or charged atoms to flow but not electrons. This separation is critical for the battery to function properly. When a device is connected to the battery, completing a circuit, a chemical reaction is triggered within the battery that causes electrons to flow from the anode to the cathode through the external circuit. Imagine you're using your phone. When you turn on the screen, a circuit is completed. This triggers a cascade of events inside the battery. On the anode side, a chemical reaction called an oxidation reaction occurs. During oxidation, the anode atoms lose electrons and become positively charged. These freed up electrons don't want to stay behind. They're eager to flow. Luckily, an external wire is connected, providing a highway for them to travel. As the electrons zoom through the wire, they power your phone's screen, processor, and other components. Meanwhile, back inside the battery, something interesting is happening at the cathode. Positively charged ions are milling about in the electrolyte solution. These ions are like little passengers waiting for a ride. The loss of electrons from the anode creates an attraction for these positive ions, beckoning them towards the cathode. They travel through the electrolyte, a special separator that allows ions but not electrons to pass freely. Finally, at the cathode, another chemical reaction takes place, a reduction. In this reaction, the positive ions receive the electrons that traveled from the anode through the external circuit. With these new found electrons, the ions transform back into neutral atoms, fulfilling their journey. This continuous flow of electrons from the anode through the external circuit to power your device and back to the cathode through the electrolyte creates the electrical current that keeps your phone alive. As long as the chemical reactions in the battery can continue, the current will keep flowing, but eventually the battery will run out of juice. That's when it's time to recharge. Different batteries, different reactions. The specific chemistry inside a battery determines how it works. Here are two common types. Lithium-ion batteries. These power most of EVs. During discharge, lithium ions flow from the anode, usually graphite, to the cathode, often a lithium metal oxide. The anode material acts like a sponge for lithium ions. As the battery discharges, lithium ions become embedded in the anode material like water soaking into a sponge. During charging, the process is reversed. The charger pushes the electrons back into the anode, squeezing the lithium ions out like wringing out a wet sponge. These lithium ions travel back to the cathode, where they recombine with the electrons to form lithium metal oxide once again. Lead-acid batteries, found in cars. These rely on lead plates and sulfuric acid as the electrolyte. During discharge, a chemical reaction converts lead sulfate on both the anode and the cathode plates into lead metal and lead sulfate. This reduces the amount of available lead metal in the anode, which is why the battery voltage drops as it discharges. Recharging reverses this process, converting the lead sulfate back to lead metal at both electrodes, restoring the battery's capacity, reversing the flow and replenishing energy. When you plug in your car, the charger acts like a little pump, pushing electrons back into the battery. This reverses the chemical reactions we saw earlier. Electrons flow from the charger, entering the anode and reducing it. Lithium ions, or other ions depending on the battery type, flow from the cathode to the anode through the electrolyte. At the cathode, the ions gain electrons and return to their original state. Over time, the charger replenishes the chemicals in their original forms, restoring the battery's ability to store energy. Okay, let's dive deeper into the fascinating world of battery charging. We learned that discharging involves a flow of electrons from the anode to the cathode, powering our devices. But how does a charger reverse this process and replenish the battery's energy? Imagine your charger as a conductor, directing a flow of electrons back into the battery. Here is a breakdown of the key players. The AC adapter plugs into the wall outlet and converts the alternating current from your house to a direct current at a specific voltage suitable for your battery. The charging cable acts as the highway for DC electricity to travel from the charger to the device. The battery management system. This little chip inside your device is the brain of the operation. It monitors the battery's voltage, current, and temperature, ensuring safe and efficient charging. And the charging controller. This component within the charger, sometimes integrated with the BMS, regulates the charging current and voltage based on the battery's needs. When you connect your device to the charger, the following happens. AC to DC conversion. The AC adapter brings on the energy to the vehicle, and this energy is then being converted to DC with the onboard charger. The communication with BMS. The BMS in your device communicates with the charging controller in the charger. This communication establishes the optimal charging parameters, like voltage, current, based on factors like battery type, health, and temperature. The charging controller ensures a steady flow of electrons from the charger through the cable and into the battery. This flow is in the opposite direction compared to discharge. Remember the reduction and oxidation reactions we discussed during discharge? Now the charging process reverses them. At the anode, the incoming electrons causing a reduction reaction, forcing the lithium ions or other ions to migrate back out of the anode material and towards the cathode. At the cathode, these ions readily accept the electrons and return to their original state. Monitoring and maintaining voltage as the battery charges. The BMS constantly monitors the voltage across each cell within the battery. Ideally, all cells should charge at a similar rate and reach full capacity simultaneously. The charging controller adjusts the current accordingly to prevent any individual cell from becoming overcharged, which can damage the battery. Safety measures and cutoff mechanisms once the battery reaches its full capacity. The BMS signals the charging controller to stop the flow of electrons. This prevents overcharging, which can generate excessive heat and damage the battery. Some chargers might even switch to a trickle charge mode, providing a minimal current to compensate for self-discharge. We all love the convenience of fast charging, but it comes at a cost. Fast charging pushes a higher current into the battery, which can generate more heat. This heat, while managed by the BMS, can accelerate the degradation of the battery. Reducing its overall lifespan, slower charging at a lower current generates less heat and it is gentler on the battery, promoting better long-term health. By understanding the charging process and the factors that influence it, you can adopt responsible charging habits to maximize your battery's lifespan. Use the recommended charger. Different chargers provide different current outputs. Using a charger designed for your specific device ensures optimal and safe charging. Avoid extreme temperatures. Heat is the enemy of batteries. Don't leave your devices in hot or expose them to direct sunlight for extended periods while charging. Don't wait until it's dead. So, repeatedly draining your battery completely can stress it. It's better to practice shallow discharges and frequent recharges. Consider stopping the charge at 80% for extended battery life. Imagine a battery's capacity as a bucket filled with energy. Every time you discharge and recharge the battery, it's like going through a cycle of using and refilling the bucket. Unfortunately, with each cycle, the bucket loses a tiny bit of its elasticity, meaning it can't hold quite as much energy as before. This gradual reduction in capacity is what we experience as a battery losing its ability to hold a charge. Using the recommended charger ensures the correct amount of water, electricity is poured into your bucket, preventing overflow and damage. Shallow discharges. Constantly draining the bucket completely stretches it out. Aim for shallower discharges and more frequent refills for the better long-term health. Consider stopping the charge at 80% instead of 100%. This reduces the stress on the bucket, keeping it better shape for longer. The quest for the ultimate battery is like searching for the perfect bucket that holds a ton of energy, refills in a flash, and never loses its shape. Here's what researchers are focusing on. Energy density. Packing more energy into a smaller bucket so your phone can be the size of a coin that power you through the day. Charging speed. Imagine refilling your bucket in seconds instead of hours. Faster charging times are a key to focus for on-the-go convenience. Lifespan. Extending Lifespan. Extending the number of cycles a battery can go through before it loses its elasticity. This means more refills and a longer lifespan for your trusty bucket. Alright folks, that's it for our deep dive into the world of charging and discharging batteries. We explored the fascinating science behind these little power packs, from the flow of electrons to the impact of charging habits. Remember, by understanding how batteries work, you can take better care of them and keep your devices juiced up for longer. Here are some key takeaways. Batteries store chemical energy that's converted to electrical energy during discharge. Charging reverses the chemical reactions, replenishing the battery's energy. Extreme temperatures, fast charging, and deep discharges can shorten battery life. Researchers are constantly innovating to create better batteries with higher capacity, faster charging, and longer lifespans. Thanks for joining us on this electrifying journey. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more tech breakdowns. Let us know in the comments below what other everyday tech mysteries you would like us to tackle next.